Photography podcast that we invite inspired photographers from all around the world. I want to invite our good friend Art here. Art, it's always good to see you, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to hear this talk this morning.
Yeah, and welcome to all our viewers from all around the world. As a reminder, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Today is a really special guest and a special topic, and let me tell you why. When Art and I started, thinking about a platform like Earth as Our Witness, we had a few names, and one of them was a name who is joining us today. And the reason is that he's a trailblazer. He's not just a photographer, he's a humanitarian, a philanthropist, and his work really has inspired tens of thousands of photographers around the world. Also, his work has impacted positively millions of people around the world. So I would not say not just a photographer. Today's topic is again very special to my heart, also very special to our guest photographer's heart. It's called The Soul of the Afghan Resistance. The reason for that is 20 years back, a legendary commander, Ahmad Shah Massoud, almost saved Afghanistan from the darkness at those times. And he's a legend. Anyone who knows Ahmad Shah Massoud was also called the Lion of Panjshir because just with 100 people, he was able to defend hundreds of thousands of troops trying to invade Afghanistan. Tragedy happened. Ahmad Shah Massoud was assassinated just 2 days before 9/11 by Al-Qaeda at that time, backed by various dark elements. And today his son, Ahmad Massoud, is carrying on the resistance in Afghanistan against the brutality of the Taliban. Such is the diversity of the topic today. It's all intertwined. It goes deep. It goes really deep. And with that, I just want to welcome my new friend, our guest photographer, Reza. Reza, welcome to Earth as Our Witness.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Art, to being here and organizing this, which I know how difficult was it, but the topic is so important that, we should talk about it as much as we can, because it is not only related to Afghanistan. What's happening in Afghanistan, for me, it's related to the whole world. If we ignore Afghanistan, we will ignore the whole world. And this was unfortunately same things that was happened for many years. As Massoud talked to the world saying that you ignored us, but I know that you will be hit soon by people that they are planning attacks against US. He came to Paris to tell about it. He came to Paris saying that I have a message for President of the US. It was in April 2001, actually, that the message is that I know that the Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden, Taliban, with the help of Pakistan government, they are planning something against US. So if US wants peace at home, they should come and make peace in Afghanistan. This was April 2001, and you know what's happened after.
Yeah.
Nobody listened. That's why I think
about 9/11. That's amazing. And we're going to
that's
talk
why
about.
it's important. Yeah.
Should I start sharing the presentation?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, do you see it?
I see all of them. No, I need to get, this is my, let's say, symbolic photograph of who were Massoud and all his people, because this was published in Time magazine. I take these pictures in 1983, while at those years, with no mobile phone, no internet, no connection, when we were going inside Afghanistan, we were dressed like them. We had to be with them, live with them, act like them, a small camera, and there were spies everywhere. So it was a very difficult timing, physically and mentally, to go in Afghanistan in the 80s when it was invaded by the Russians, which I mean, Soviet Union at those years, the Russian, they called themselves Soviet Union, but they were the Russians, militaries and army that they were doing this. And I remember that they were called freedom fighters. In Europe and America, they were calling the Afghan resistance the freedom fighters, the shadowy fighters. So I had in my mind, as a photojournalist, you're always trying to find a picture that explain the whole story, the storytelling. So in a very early morning in one of the villages when we were spend the night and walking, when I saw these pictures, I saw this is the shadow fighter pictures. And this was published in PARIMAL 2-page and the Time magazine, everywhere. And I got a WordPress photo, I don't know which year about this. So that's why I wanted to start with these pictures.
Next, you know, can I just, well, I wanted to let you just get into your dialogue, but I have to make a comment from the very first. I love this image. And the reason is you are drawing us in as viewers of your work, and you're not spelling things out so overtly, obviously. And it just is a fantastic hook. The shadows, the silhouettes, it's graphically pleasing. It shows positive and negative space in such a beautiful and unusual way. And that establishes you as a photojournalist, but an artist and a passionate capture of images. So that's all I have to say about that. It's just amazing photograph.
It has also the information that people need to know because of these two guns, which is Kalashnikov. So it shows that they have just this Kalashnikov and the little, what is it near the, what do you call it? In French, we said baluchon. The thing that you put, when you're traveling, you put your food on it and you handle it, which is also, anyway, next please.
Yeah. It takes a few seconds to load.
Yeah. The other that I wanted to start also is this one. For many reasons. You talk about the Panjshir Valley. That's where the Massoud is original from this valley. That's where the whole resistance against the Soviet invasion start. And that's also very important historically, because this is exactly the place that you see this man walking at, like, and if you go a little in the middle, you see a lot of rocks in the middle of the river. Those rocks were the rocks of the explosion that Massoud has planned against the Russian military commander and the convoy that they entering the Panjshir Valley. He had a genius, I mean, when I say genius, it is really genius because now in a lot of military schools in the world, they are teaching Massoud strategy. Even in Moscow, you know, that the Russian military, they are teaching in a Moscow military the Massoud strategy, because that's where he was able to stop and put on their knee the biggest army in the world, which was the Russian army. I mean, the Soviet Union or Russian militaries. So that's where this biggest army in the world for the first time was defeated. And that's where historically, I believe, but the historian, they will later, I'm sure that they will have the same idea, that's the reason of the Berlin Wall falling, the reason that Soviet Union totally was dismantled, because of they lost the war here, in this place, in this Panjshir Valley. This is a historically important to know that from Alexander the Great till now, almost all the empires of the region, not the Roman Empire and not the Greek Empire, not the pharaohs, you put aside those three, but all the others empire, they have attacked Afghanistan and they were defeated here. So imagine when you are there and you know that Alexander the Great got one of his only military defeat. Here, the British Army, the British Empire got, the Mongolian they got, the Persian Empire, the Hindu Empire, all of them, they got their empires, their first losing the war here. But then I got reading all those things and putting all the stories together. It's something very strange. It's almost metaphysical, because all the empires from Alexander the Great till now, that they have lost their wars in Panjshir, in Afghanistan. Almost a year or 2 years after, they lost their empires. This is amazing. Especially knowing that many of them, they were in the highest power of their empires. So just losing one war in Afghanistan, it brought them to lose their empire. That's what I wanted to talk about this picture. It is not just a pictures of a landscape or river. Historically, it's so important, this village.
Wow. And was there in this image at the moment you took the picture, a rock slide, just a wind blowing down that dust that allowed the humans to be so obvious in the image?
No, it was a dirt road, so some cars going on.
Ah, okay.
The dust is from the dust is from this car, which make the pictures, as you saw immediately as a photographer, that the pictures became a real photograph because of this dust and these pictures walking there.
Okay. I recall at the time that there was also an incident in a tunnel where hundreds of Russians died. And was that Massoud as well? That was his strategic planning, right?
The tunnel that you're talking about, Salang Tunnel, there were the 2 points that Massoud has all his strategy. The tunnel is where all the materials and the militaries and everything from Russia was coming to Afghanistan. And Massoud has planned the places that he was mastering both roads. I mean, this was amazing how he mastered control of the roads, the Salang tunnel, and the Panjshir, and that's how the Russian, they lost the war. Next, please. Okay, now this was my first encounter with Massoud. After 3 attempts over 2 years, from 83 to 85, and getting ambushed 3 times by the Russian military, that they wanted to capture me. After walking 3 months in the mountains and asking people, Massoud, and everybody say, who, Massoud? We never heard about him. Obviously, I knew that they know about it, but they don't want to say. So finally, with a lot of long story short, I met him. And one of the things which I knew about him, that he was a good chess player. Obviously, I mean, you know, the people in this region, they play chess a lot. And I was chess player. I'm a chess player also, especially in my young ages. So I thought that as we do in the Orient, when we go to meet someone, we bring a little gift. Even if it was difficult, 3 months alone, walking in these mountains, going up and coming down, and sometimes crying, so you were so tired. So I brought this matchbox to him as a gift. And like few minutes after we met and I give to him, he looks to me, I said, wow, fantastic. How do you know I play chess? And I said, I should know a lot about you before coming and meeting you. I know everything's about you. So he was, you know, it was a good start. And they said, but I don't think that you could beat me on the chess. Then I realized that this guy is a very clever and intelligent guy because he wants to defeat his rival or enemy even before starting. Because he's telling me, I don't think that you could beat me in a chess. So I said,
playing
okay.
psychological games. Yeah, psychological one.
Definitely. In Farsi is خودت را حریف که نمیدانی. You don't feel you as a rival, you know, this was it. And I immediately answered him with a very epic Persian poem, which says, don't talk, come on the battlefield, we will battle together and till tomorrow morning, which means that the whole day and night, and the sun will rise over the winner. It looks to me, because this is a very epic from Ferdowsi, the Persian poet. So that was how we started. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show. By the way, I'm the one sitting in the left side, obviously, with my camera.
Yeah, I was wondering because you obviously don't have a dark beard, and I was looking at your nose and your profile. Yeah. So initially I thought the gentleman on the left was Massoud, but then I started figuring it out. So
no, yeah, this is okay. Next, please. So what I learned about him immediately, which was really interesting, that he had brought 100 people, 100 exactly, from all over Afghanistan, from all ethnic groups. This is very, very important, that because the Taliban now, they are only Pashtun. That's it. Ashraf Ghani, Karzai, they were all Pashtun. Khalilzad, they were all Pashtun. And their only thing that they in their minds is to give Afghanistan to the Pashtun, whatever happened. So even Khalilzad, Ghani, Karzai, all of them, they give the country on purpose to Taliban because the Taliban are Pashtun. Massoud has brought 100 people at these pictures. Hazara, Tajik, Uzbek, Pashtun, and many, many other place and ethnic people. For 6 months, he trained those 100 people. This is so important. Even people who are in the education field, they understand it. He trained them over 6 months, one by one, all of them. Then when he finished, he said, okay, now you go back to your village, you go back to your city, and each of you, you teach 100 people. How clever was it? 100, I train 100, but I ask everybody, you go and teach and train 100. That's how he became Massoud. That's how he was able to have his people all around Afghanistan and not only Panjshir Valley.
It's wonderful. Also, your point about how inclusive his philosophy was, inclusive about regardless of, whether you're Pashtun or a Tajik or any other tribe, for the right purpose, he gelled them together with a purpose.
I mean, believe me, I have never seen in these situations someone like inclusive like him. Yeah. That doesn't matter you were Tajik, you were Pashtun, you were Hazara. He doesn't really care about it at all. He was always thinking, what's in your mind? That's what is important for me.
Well, Reza, it was interesting because he is a very strategic commander. And Alexander the Great, as you know, was able to conquer most of the world at the time because he also, his enemies became part of his army. He could say, I either kill you or you join me and we become stronger. And that seems to have filtered down.
Definitely. Next, please. So these are just, after I met him and those chess we played together, I spent a couple of weeks with him going around. And because the reason that also we became very close, that we had the same age, almost I think it was more your age, Art, than my age. So we have like few months difference. He was older, and we speak the same language. We play chess together. I am an architect by trainings. He was a civil engineer by training, which is almost the same. And architects and civil engineer, we are the builders. We learn how to build things from scratch. But before building it, it's in our minds. We have to put everything, the volume and map and everything in our minds before putting on the ground. And then, as I said, we play chess. We love the same poets also. Rumi, Hafez, Saadi, Bidil. These are the poets that are the pillars of the Persian civilization in a way. And so that's why we became very close friends almost after 2-3 days spending together, which is still going on.
It's lovely. I love the expression of the people around him, including the boy on the left, looking up to the leader, very charismatic.
From a photographic perspective, it's a beautiful series of intimate photos, but also, Reza, you are educating us on a very complex part of the world, and albeit a very confusing for Americans, very confusing. And so to hear your stories, but also the historical context is incredibly interesting for me.
I mean, just now that these pictures are in 1985 in Panjshir Valley, and the Russian, they have almost take over of all Afghanistan, the same that the Taliban now. And you have only 4 or 5 villages, and not all the Panjshir Valley even, just 4 or 5 village, the same that's happening now here these days. That is remain, and Massoud is there and say that I'm going to win the war. Next, please.
Wow. Wow.
So here we come to the portrait, which has become the icon, the portrait that all Afghans they have at their home. They on T-shirts, you find these pictures everywhere. Thousands of. It's a little obviously. You can see the influence of the Che Guevara, my friend Cordova, who took the pictures of Che Guevara, and also one of the famous pictures of the Bob Marley, icon. This is one of those. In 2008, National Geographic, they did a 1-hour documentary about this photograph, which is called Afghan Warrior. You can find in YouTube. This is all about the photograph, how these pictures has changed this history. How, because this is a very interesting question that we came in National Geographic, was saying that let's see how and what are the photographs that has played an important role in the history. And the first question was, the whole story came, okay, the whole world know about the Che Guevara, almost, yes? We all know about it.
Yeah.
Now, imagine that it was not, this portrait was not exist from Che Guevara. What will
exactly.
Who will be Che Guevara? Nobody. Che Guevara will be one of the 12,000 other guerrilleros at this time that they were with Fidel Castro and fighting. And so maybe his name will be known by some historian, but not with the billions of the people around the world, with the young people that they don't even know where is Cuba. They don't even know that there was a revolution, but they love Che Guevara. So that's how important is to know in our time and civilization, the photographs are playing an important role. Anyway, the other thing I want to tell you about this picture, that the picture was taken in a small cave. As a civil engineer, he and a genius guy, which I know he was, because he has spent days and days looking to the Russian airplane that coming and bombing the valley, and he knew from the field which they come up and they come and bomb. So he has also made all the calculation, because when you throw a bomb, the bomb doesn't come like this. It's, you know, the people that know the physics, they know that it has a curve, the bomb, always. It is not 100% the direct. So anyway, he has calculated it, and he has found in each valley the places, saying that this place they could never bomb. Imagine. So they have asked his people to make the hole like 4 or 5 meters as a cave. So when the airplane was coming and bombing, the people, they were going there, sitting, and no bomb was able to reach there. Amazing there. I mean, this is, so we were in one of those moments of the bombardment in the cave for 3-4 hours, waiting, everything's happened. And that's where, in 85, the first thing he said when we were talking, he said, Reza, I promise that in 5 years from now, there will be no Soviet Union. In 1985. And he's promising me, this guy sitting in a village, in a cave, you know. And I mean, it was difficult not to hold my laughing, because 85, you all know how strong was Soviet Union. The whole world, you know, fighting with, and nobody. So I thought, how come this young man promised me that there will be no Soviet Union in 5 years, and he's now hiding in a small caves? And I said, okay, imagine that what you say is okay. You will defeat the Soviet and militaries and Russian, but what will happen after between you Afghans? He got a little like hit with this question, and before answering, he got this. You see what's happening in his eyes, and that's where I got my camera, my zoom lens, which I had carry with me, that 80 to 200 millimeters, and I got this portrait, one shot. That's how the whole story.
Beautiful. This is absolutely iconic. The definition of the word iconic is this image of Ahmad Shah Massoud. Absolutely beautiful. The look in the eyes, the twinkle, the thought.
You know, I just want to echo that, but I also, when you were talking about how a photo actually brings entire movement and point of history together, it's analogous also to Frank Hurley, who joined Ernest Shackleton and photographed that entire epic voyage. I'm not sure, Reza, if you know the story, but it is exactly that. If Frank Hurley hadn't been there with his cameras, we wouldn't know that amazing story of, you know, in the Antarctic waters. And with Shay, yeah, I mean, it's those photos, your photo, that is so vitally important. I think photographers do have an incredible role in the history.
Definitely, and I think that these photographs also help the world a lot to understand who is Massoud and what he's doing. That's our role, actually, to reveal to the world what we see and we feel. Next, please. Oh, very important, these two pictures. You see these two guys? The middle is one of the Afghan Mujahideen with Massoud, the commander. These two guys are two Russian soldiers that they were hostage during the fightings. And, you know, they start learning Farsi, and then little by little, obviously, learning Quran. And but when I first met them, they were introduced to me as Afghan Mujahideen. They were speaking perfectly language. They have been like 2 years there. And the most importance is that the guy on the right side, he told me that, you know, when I was arrested in the battlefield, they brought me to Massoud and I talked to him and he talked to me, obviously through the interpreters. And I explained to him that we were told that we are going to fight American imperialists. That's how the whole Russian mentality was, that we are going to fight American imperialists. And then I came here and little by little, I realized that no, we are killing innocent people in the villages. We are not killing American imperialism, or we are killing. So I became a little worried about my mission and whatever. Anyway, so he said that I talked to Massoud, and Massoud, after listening to me, he said, okay, now what do you want to do? Do you want to go back? Do you want us stay here? I have to keep you here. You are the prisoners. But I like what you say, and I need someone that speaks Russian. Would you like to be one of my bodyguards?
Mm.
Wow.
The guy said, I thought this is a trick. How come that he's asking me to be his bodyguard? And then Massoud asked one of his bodyguard to bring me and give a gun to me. So imagine now this moment, and I talk about many other people, and this story is a real story. It needs a Hollywood movie about it. So he's giving a Kalashnikov and giving the title of the Massoud bodyguards, an interpreter with all the Russian, when they were speaking, he should listen to them and saying that what they say. But he said that for months, I thought that it's a trick, and there's this bullet, which is it. They are white bullets, but I was not. I said dare to try and to shoot, because if I shoot it, they will know that I'm getting ready to do something. So for months, I didn't touch this. I had the gun with me, but I never tried it, because I knew that immediately it's a white bullets, and if I do it, they will kill me immediately. So after a few months working and as a Massoud bodyguard, I mean, this is amazing. This is the thing that the world doesn't know about it. Finally, he said one day, I was talking to Massoud, and Massoud asking me, what do you think? And I told him exactly what I think, that I said that, okay, now you were fooling me by giving me this gun with the white bullet. I want to say you that in a few months which I was with you, I really appreciate and I love what you do and I understand what's going on. And then he said, Massoud started laughing. He said, give me your gun. And I give the gun, and he put the bullet and he shot, boom. And then I realized that all the bullets were real bullets. They have given me the first days a real gun with the real bullets. And Massoud, they trust me. And for months, I was afraid. And then I realized that, no, there was a real gun, real bullets. Anyway,
Wow.
this is an incredible story.
Beautiful.
Well, and it also talks of Massoud's ability to size people up really fast.
Definitely. I mean, these are the different type of these genius guys. So the months which I spent with him, we were always together. I think that I'm the only journalist that was allowed to be with him all the times. Most of the journalists, they were coming, that if they met him later even, just for interview or staying a few hours with him. But I spent months with him, and we were in the same room. He was moving and changing the place that he was sleeping every day. He was never sleeping in the same room 2 nights, in a row. So, and I was the only guy with the same room. I had the one sleep. They have given me a sleeping bag. He had his own, and we were always together. And but the other thing is that he was never taking out his boots in the night when he's sleeping. I was taking out, but he was never taking out. He was ready to jump out and run in a second, always ready, if it is gone near him and everything. Now you see the next one. And look at what he's showing to me. The one after night, we are in 1985. He said, oh, funny, because I was talking about him, the danger that he has around him. And he laughed. He said, oh, look at this one. These are the special bullets that were given by the Russian to Afghan Secret Service. And the Secret Service, they have found out one of my best friends when I was a kid, as a classmate. And they have put him in a condition by arresting his families in Kabul, his father, mother, wife, and everybody. They have put in a prison, and they have given this guy, my friend, this gun, which is a silent. If you go to the next pictures, you will see. So it's a silent bullet. I have never seen such a gun. If somebody knows what is it, please tell me now about it. I have been looking for it. What is it? And he was telling that this is a gun which has it's very silent, but also is a kind of poison on it.
Wow.
So wherever you can hit even your finger, but the poison will go all over your body. So, and then he said that this was the 17 plot that we discovered that the Russian militaries and intelligence, they have done against me to kill me. Then he said, well, we discovered 17 of them. We don't know how many others they have done and they failed it. And this was the number 17 plot to kill. So his friend that when he came, hitting this bullet, the Russian, they have in prison the family of this friend, saying that you have to kill him and then we will, they were in a house arrest actually. So he was so emotional by meeting Massoud and seeing what he's doing, that Massoud say in the second days, he said that, Massoud, I want to talk to you really. That's what is it. And he gave the gun to the Massoud and he said that this is the story. My family's is held in a house arrest in Kabul, and I have to kill you so they could release them. Massoud laughed. He said, okay, don't worry. So look at what Massoud did. Massoud asked, where are your parents' house, your family? The guys told exactly where the families are. And then he asked him, give me some words, some code norms that if my people, they went to talk to your family, they will know that they are coming from you. Okay? So in those years, 83, 84, there was a rumor that Massoud was killed. Boom, the news went out all over the world that Massoud was assassinated by gunshot or whatever. But this was all a trick. So Massoud, what he did, he said, okay, don't worry. He sent his people to enter the house, which was surrounded by the Russian military. They take them out, the family. They brought them in, refugee, crossing the border to Pakistan. That's how they have made the rumor that Massoud was killed. So the Russian, they were happy that, oh, our guy finally was able to kill Massoud, so they let the family a little quiet. And that's the time that Massoud take the families, Massoud people, they take them out to Pakistan as refugees. And a couple of days after, when the family has gone, and the guy also, he sent also to help the guys going out of Afghanistan, then he showed himself, and the world knows that no, he was not killed. This is amazing story. By the way, this is the first time I'm telling this story. And
wow. What a story. What a story.
Next, please. Oh, so 1, 2, 3. Who is the people from the left? Number 3?
You.
Left.
Camera? Yes.
No way. You?
Yes.
Wow.
Walking 3 months in the mountains, and amazing.
That's
This was
incredible.
going through ambush by the Russians, and hiding and the running, and that's just I can make a whole movie about those 3 months in the mountain to reaching Massoud and taking those pictures and bringing back. I mean, between us, my photograph helped a lot the world to know about the Afghan resistance and Massoud and everybody. But the funny things, you know what is it? I'm exiled from Iran from 1981 when the Islamic Republic take over because of my photographs of the Kurdish people, but that the mullahs, Iranian mullahs regime, they were killing, and my stories went all over the world. So they got angry at me and they wanted to kill me, and I flee Iran, 1981. Massoud knew about it, that I'm in exile, and so after this picture, when it was the time to say goodbye, it was a very emotional moment. And I told Massoud, okay, my friend, I know that you are going to win. I don't know when will be the next time we meet. I hope to meet you in Tehran or in Kabul, because I was not able to go to Tehran, and Tehran for me was occupied by the mullahs, the same way that Afghanistan was occupied by the Russians. Massoud laughed to me. Listen, laughed, and I said, I can't promise you Tehran. This is your job. But I promise you to take you to Kabul. 1985. Then we met a couple of times again. Now, next picture, please. This is 7 years after those pictures, the first one that you saw. 7 years after, Massoud, this is a pictures of the day that he take over Kabul. The Russian has gone. He has defeated the Russian military. He has defeated the Afghan government. And now he's going to enter with 15,000 of his people to Kabul in a tank, which I'm the only photographer, journalist standing in the tank. Actually, I'm the guy, obviously. These were the first selfies taken with the 14 millimeters lenses and holding the camera like this. You know, Art?
Yeah.
We were taking selfies also before selfies. So this is my selfie on the tank, sitting with Massoud and going to enter Kabul, taking over Kabul after all those years. But what is important, that I was in Paris 3 days before this picture. And I got a message that, hey, Massoud is going to take Kabul, from one of very close friends of Massoud. And I said, oh, I have to be there. So I did everything that was possible in 3 days, and going through all these difficulties. And I arrived in the mountain at 4 p.m. I remember that Massoud and his people were there. you cannot believe it. When I entered this barrack with all his soldiers and the commander that they were planning all this hundreds of the tanks and the military machines and the tens of thousands of the people that he had going to Kabul, he didn't know that I'm coming. I entered the room with my cameras. He looks to me, he said, "Reza, I promise you I will take you to Kabul." It was 7 years ago. You remember? I told. He stand up, he said, "I promise you I will take you to Kabul, and this is the day. Let's go. I was waiting for you." I was waiting for you. Let's go. He didn't know that I'm coming. But this was, for me, he said, "Oh my God, he remember 7 years ago in Panjshir when we were hugging, and I just say, hope to enter Kabul and or Tehran." And he said, "Tehran, no, I can't promise. This is your job, but I promise Kabul." So that's how, when he went on the tanks, then I was under, and he hold my hands and take over the tanks. He said, "Come and sit here." And I was sitting just in front of him, and we run for like 3 hours after we entered Kabul. This was it. Kabul was Massoud now.
Wow.
I mean, have you ever talked to anybody, PARIMAL, that has such a historically incredible story to tell? I mean, you were centric to this whole unfolding story and friends with this commander. I think it's remarkable to hear it out of your mouth to our ears in real time. To know this all happened, I think is incredible. What a privilege. What a privilege it is to hear it.
I don't know anyone who's been this close to a legend, you know. Lots of photographers, lots of photojournalists, all good ones, but this is special. I feel you are two brothers from different mothers. That's what I hear.
Exactly what was our relation. Was really even the Afghans, everybody around him, they know the way that Massoud was talking about me, that I was his only and best friend, because everybody was around him were, for some reason, military or commander or being part of the story. He didn't have anybody from outside. And sometimes when you are surrounded with all your team all the times, you need someone from outside that you can sit down. We spend it nights and nights talking about poetry, and even in the middle of the boom, boom, the rockets going on, and we played chess, and we were reciting the poetry, you know. This is amazing. I will never forget. I think that I'm so honored and privileged that, I mean, really, to have such a relation with a man that who did everything that we're talking about it. It's a real privilege, and I always think how I'm honored about it.
It must have been so painful to hear of his assassination.
Yeah, definitely. So this is the pictures of 2 days after he take over Kabul. The first things he did, obviously, when everybody from all the commanders and the fighters, they were coming to Kabul. So the first things he said, I wanted to, he sent a message to those 100 that he has trained to come to meet. You remember the first pictures I saw, there was, you know how many of them they were alive? Oh, they were all in these pictures, 13 out of those 100.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Only 13 were alive out of those 100. The most important of pictures in this moment If you look, Art, you know what I've done. I had my little Leica 35 millimeters with me. You know what I have done? You see the light in his background. You see where is it?
Yes.
So it's make a hollow around his face, also his head, because this is the moment that I will never forget. You see this in the left side, there's a gun on the table. Right? Mm-hmm. He made a huge speech, fantastic. And I always hate that we didn't have iPhone or some mobile phone at those times to record what was going on, what he said. It was only we were able to have our cameras with us. But I remember he made incredible respect to all the others, 87 that died and everything. And because of them, then he said, but the best news, which I have for you, is that we liberated our country using this gun that was in our shoulders always. And you know what? Many of those mujahideen, they had this trace on their skin of this gun always, because if you carried Art Nawab, when you have the camera always with you, you have something to trace on your skin. He said, till today, we had to carry this gun to free our country. But the good news is that from today, our main gun will be the pen. And he take out his pen and show to them. I said that this is going to be our main pen, the gun from now, because we need to build this country. We need to bring democracy. We need really to do everything that we can for all those friends that we lost, that they were looking for this moment. This is our job. I mean, imagine this man, who was it, saying that the pen was going to be our weapon to rebuild our country and democracy and everything. Unfortunately, there was too many enemies. A lot. The countries around surrounding, or whatever, the tribal rivalry and everything. It didn't happen, you know. So I always remember the portrait which I said, and I asked him question, what's happening later between you Afghans, and he became this thinking about it. I always think that he knew what's going to happen somehow. And you know, Art, these pictures remember a lot of people about what paintings?
Last Supper.
Definitely. And wow. There's 13 people on the pictures, and the Last Supper also. The same.
Wow. And, you know, if he knew that it was going to be a challenge to keep Afghanistan united, it's like Jesus knew there was something coming. It's and the halo behind his head that you created. Yeah, the analogy is there, and it's really clear.
I mean, these are the things that as a photographer, you don't know about it when you're doing, but later when you see the pictures, you see, oh my God, there's a lot of historical, you know, the reference in the pictures. There's a lot of things that, because we as a visual, I always thought that we don't invent anything. We are a continuation of the 1,000 years of the visual makers before us. Yeah. So that's why finally the pictures which I take that we saw, it looks like Last Supper with the hello and everything. Even if it's in a Muslim country and I'm a Muslim to do it, but it doesn't matter. The whole story is humanity. It doesn't matter which religion, whatever you are. This is Last Supper is part of humanity, and that's how it's come that without knowing it, without even knowing that there were 13 people in the Last Supper. I think that there were 13 people. Anyway, the number is exactly the same, and so it's very interesting to know about it.
I counted it 13.
This is a portrait of him that after his assassination, the first things that I told to his friends, saying that, okay, it's happened. Now you need to create a Massoud Foundation. So that's how the Massoud Foundation is created, just months after his assassination. And I pushed a lot to create this foundation, which is fantastic, which is doing fantastic works on education, on everything. And his son is the head of this foundation now. And without me knowing, they picked up these pictures as a logo of the foundation, but not the pictures, just the line of the face. So this is the portrait that was inspired the Massoud Foundation's logo, which I'm also pleased because I didn't decide it, they decided to do it.
It's a beautiful photo.
Honor, it's an honor, of course.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. As I said, I always feel honored and privileged to do the whole story. Next, please. Oh, this is one of the. In 1991, I picked up an offer by United Nations to become the director of operation because of my knowledge of Afghanistan. That those years I was Time Magazine and PARIMAL and Life and all those Stern pictures was published in those magazines. So I have walked like almost 3,000 kilometers walking on the mountains over 10 years. So I knew a lot of them. So the UN came to me and said that we have a big project of helping Afghans and bringing the food for them. And we were looking for someone, and you are the only candidate. Would you accept? And I was in a peak of my work with Time Magazine, you know. And I said immediately, yes, of course. Because all those pictures I was doing to bring attention of the world to help Afghans. Now, if also I have to bring the helps, what the hell? I accepted. So for 1 year, I was the director of operation of the United Nations in the North Afghanistan. And also I went to meet Massoud. He was fighting still the Afghan government in the mountains. So we had a code connections, and this is the moment which we find each other. You can feel this friendship, you know, the 1992, these pictures, 1991, sorry, you're taking. And it has been like 8-9 years that we have met first and a couple of times, but this was really amazing for me at this moment, which I said, okay, now I have tens of thousands of the wheat and the materials to help the Afghans, which they needed. So, and you know, the funniest things that this was taken with my camera, but when we were walking, there were three. Dr. Abdullah, who is now the vice president, you know, Dr. Abdullah. Yes. He was his assistant. Dr. Abdullah was the Massoud personal assistant in a way.
Wow.
And then became, you know, foreign ministers or whatever. But in the beginning, he was the Massoud assistant. Wow. So he had a camera, and I said, Abdullah, Doctor, could you take pictures of us? So this pictures was taken by Dr. Abdullah, actually. Wow. It's also historical.
It's amazing.
You know, the landscape behind, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I was just saying that landscape behind, I've spent quite a bit of time in Pakistan, going up to K2 and doing the Hunza Valley, came in from China. It's very familiar landscape to me. It's austere, it's a rough land. And I think it belies the people that live there are such tough, resistant humans that can eke out a living in such a harsh environment.
Definitely it is. Next, please. Oh, so Now cut, this is 2000, like 8 years after. What's happened in the between, he took over Kabul, but as I said, the surrounding countries like Iran, Islamic Republic, they were against Massoud. They were fighting him very badly, the Iranian at those days. The Pakistan was against him, the Russia was against him. So he was surrounded. And finally, and the US also, because he wanted a independent Afghanistan. And the US wanted just to have some guy that signed and accept that the pipeline of the gas of the Turkmenistan and the oil of the Kazakhstan coming to Afghanistan. The whole deal of Taliban. Again, this is not a time that we could open this. This needs a couple hours of story. But the main reason that the Taliban, they were helped by the American in the 1990s to bring in Afghanistan, it was because they have promised to American that if they get to the power, they will let them to have the pipeline, which bring the gas and the oil of the Kazakhstan through Pakistan to the Oman Sea, which is under Pakistan. What does they call it? And Massoud was saying that I'm not against the pipelines coming, but it shouldn't be signed by a fraction like Taliban. It should be signed by Afghan government, and the Taliban are not Afghan government. So he had American, Russian, Pakistanis, Iranian against him, fighting. And Al-Qaeda, obviously. Al-Qaeda was very strong against him, fighting against him. So this is the 2000 when I went with Sebastian Junger to make the documentary, which is called The Forbidden Zone against him, so I said, about this, what's happening there. Again, this is a long story. The films, you may find it on the YouTube, I don't know, Into the Forbidden Zone, it's called. It got Emmy Awards and a lot of things. But what is amazing in these pictures, that this was our meetings just few years after our last meetings. You see what is the boat, is it? That's how he was a genius. This is a tractor.
Oh, it's a tractor.
Wow. It's a tractor. He made this tractor. He changed the design of the wheel and make a boat because they needed a big boat that they could bring a lot of people around. And he used a tractor to make this. This is a genius engineering also that I wanted to share with you. And just near to him, you see Dr. Abdullah also in the middle of picture.
Yes, yeah. On his left, in the image on the right.
Yes, exactly.
In the black coat, yes.
Yep.
Next, please. This is the time that he's fighting Taliban and Al-Qaeda and Pakistan. Pakistan at those year 2000 was pushing the same that they are doing now, bring Taliban and Al-Qaeda to take over Afghanistan. It's a long story why we don't talk about it. But anyway, and here you see the Afghan generals that joined him to fight Al-Qaeda and Taliban. And this is a map that they have captured from Russian helicopters that it was hit by them. And the map is a Russian map, so which of Afghanistan, which is very accurate. He always said to me, Reza, the Russian maps are unbelievable. It's like almost centimeters, I said, right. There's nothing wrong on their maps. So one of his job and people was to steal the Russian maps wherever they can, because that's how he was able to get. Anyway, and you see where's the light is coming. It was a little gas lamp that they use it. And I like these pictures because of the situation. I think that you see again Dr. Abdullah in the right side, sitting in the right.
Yes, I was
Okay.
about to say Abdullah is sitting on the right.
Yeah, and near the Abdullah, there's hands. Only we can see the hands, but not the face. This is Sebastian Junger hand.
Oh, okay. You know, speaking of Dr. Abdullah, it just struck me how people who are assistants and up and coming in a movement like this are the future leaders of that country. You know, these are not just random assistants. This is presidents and prime ministers of that country in the future. And what leadership and mentoring they must be getting in this environment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very complicated story. The Dr. Abdullah's story is very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A beautiful image. I love the shadows in this one too, in a larger than life shadows of Ahmad Shah Massoud.
Next, please. Oh yeah, this is one of the moments which we were sitting in his home. He has built a home for him in Panjshir. And we were a lot like this, sitting and talking. And I have a great interview of him. That it's funny that the interview was like 1.5 hours. The National Geographic, they used like 2.5 minutes of it in the whole films. But I have the whole interview, which was never published. And I'm thinking of more preparing this for the publishing to the world, because there was a lot of important information, because the connection that I have with him was not connection of a journalist talking to him. We were friends and we were talking to each other really on the table. There was no off the record or whatever, you know. So that's why my interview with him, which is still is not published, could be an important.
Would be a treat to see that, you know. It's still relevant today. It would be relevant today with what's happening with the sun and the Taliban today.
Definitely. Next, please. This is the man, probably he was the most joyful man I ever met. You cannot believe it. He was always laughing. He was always joking. He was making everybody laugh. And if you didn't know who he was, and you just came out of and you see this man is making everybody laugh and talking to everybody, and you could, what is this? Who is this? What is his job? Is this job is just making everybody laugh? But that was who he was. Incredible, as I said, psychologist. He knew by just talking to the people, watching to the eyes, looking to the eyes, and then, but he kept always this familiar and never saying that I'm the head, I'm the commander, I defeat the Russians. Never. He was so humble. So humble.
It's amazing.
This picture also was published a lot. Now look at him. Who is the guy? Son, yes.
Ahmad Massoud.
I met him when he was 12 years old, a couple of weeks after Massoud was assassinated. But he knew a lot about me because Massoud was telling them the whole story about me. He called me Uncle Reza, Amu Reza in Farsi, which is me. And I'm the only guy that he called Amu Reza. And that's the relation which I had with the family, or I have with the family. So I kept connecting with him over these years after Massoud's assassination. I mean, in the beginning, he was son of my friend. So I should somehow be careful and take care of him. But little by little, I find that, yeah, he's son of my friend, but himself, he's almost incredible guy. So a couple of years ago, I start going to Afghanistan 1 month a year, only staying with Ahmad. talking to him, being with him, seeing what he does, advising him, learning from him. I mean, that's really. And I find out that unbelievably, he's the successor. He's the one that he understands the thought of his father. Because unfortunate thing is that none of the people that were surrounding Massoud at the time, none of them, even people from his family, they didn't understand him. They didn't know who he was. And immediately when they got in the power, their only view or the only work they were doing was what I can get for me. And this is and again, in the history, later, the historian, when they will put finger in one by one of the first ring of the Massoud friends, that they knew who he was. They knew who he did, but immediately when they became the power, their main tasks was how many millions I can get to my pocket. That is the main reason why the Afghans, that why we are here now. But I find that Ahmad is the guy that he understands it. You know what, one day what he said to me? You cannot believe it. He said, "Uncle, you know what? When my father died, I was 12 years old. Then I calculated how many days I have been, which I remember with my friend, my father." Funny, I said friend. You know what he said? He said, "I was only 90 days with my father." When I calculate day by day, 90 days in 12 years. Because of the wars and everything was happening. But he is, for me, is the guy who has the capacity to take the Massoud thought and everything and bring to the world, which is what he's doing. So I spent a lot of time with him in Afghanistan and in Paris, like a couple of months ago, when he came to Paris to inaugurate the street, which was called in the name of the Massoud, which is, Paris, they made a street in the name of the Massoud a few months ago. Wow. Imagine.
Yeah. He's a very, very sensible leader. I've seen his interviews on, on all the news channels, and even what he's trying to do right now, trying to create a resistance front.
Definitely.
Working with the
Sorry, you know that today, 14 November, was declared the day of Afghan resistance. Without knowing, we planned having this conversation months ago, but a couple of weeks ago, he said that I would like to 14 November, all over the world, everybody who cares about Afghans, who care about humanity, who care about us, who care about women's rights, come on the street. And today I was watching that in a lot of cities, big cities in the world, thousands of the people marching and holding the placard and everything against Taliban and for Ahmad. So even now we are talking, maybe still like in Seattle or San Francisco, LA, it's not still the time because it was asked to afternoon each city to do it.
Wow.
People that are listening to me, and if you could find out in your city where is this demonstration today, go and show up, because he and the people which are fighting now resistance, they are not fighting for them. They are not fighting for Panjshir. They are fighting against the most criminal group ever, which is Taliban, after the Islamic Republic of Iran, after the Ayatollahs. These are the two most, how could I say, the criminal groups that ever taking power in a government, ever.
Wow.
And I really say with this in this region, our region. So he and the resistance of Afghans is not for them, it's for us. It's for us everywhere. Because if Taliban take over and take power, which has been in power for 2.5 months now almost, fortunately nobody recognized them as a government, and I hope that nobody will recognize them because they're just a band of criminal puppet of the Pakistan service, ISI. That's all they are. So, I mean, if even you look to the pictures, like I saw the pictures 2 days ago, when the whole top leaders of the Taliban, which now saying that we are governor of Afghanistan, they went to Pakistan, God knows for what. The pictures, you should look on it. They are sitting, I don't know who is the guy. Is it prime minister or foreign ministers of Pakistan? He's sitting like with his legs over his legs. And this Taliban, which they are killing and they're showing their power, killing all Afghans, they are sitting with their hands over, like these kids when they sit in front of their big masters. The pictures tell everything. Look, find these pictures, Art, or everybody. These pictures, it's amazing. You see the whole senior management of Afghan Taliban sitting in the front of this Pakistani foreign ministers or minister, I don't know who is the guy, but the way that they are sitting, it looks like they are sitting in front of their biggest leader, and they're afraid of. But these are the guy with this now killing all Afghans and saying that we are winners of the war or whatever. So that's why what Ahmad does and doing, it's so important for humanity, for the history. Next, please.
Such an interesting perspective to hear the story, to know what's going on. It's,
so this is you see that how is close to the pictures of the portrait of Massoud, this one? Amazing. Yes. The famous portrait.
Yes.
It's almost similar. It's amazing. It's almost similar.
Even the look in the eyes is very similar.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, good point. The eyes.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if it's possible to show the two of them together in this.
I will. When we promote this even more after we go live, I'll use that image of left and right of father and son.
Definitely, yes, please do, because it's amazing to see again.
It is amazing to see father and son together. Absolutely.
This is a picture I took in 2019. The other was in 1985.
Yes.
So like, I don't know how many, 20 years difference or more, but almost the same.
Almost the same.
So I followed Ahmad, and this is amazing. This is just so heartbreaking, because I went with him one evenings in the tomb of his father. This is a stone with a fantastic poem written over the tomb of his father, and he was cleaning this. I was watching him, like, you cannot believe it, how beautiful this scene was. He was cleaning the window of the glass which in his father's tomb, and it was so touching to see a son giving such a tribute to his father, because even in our days, in our modern days, the son doesn't have the same feeling to their fathers. Many of them, they speak very rudely about their fathers. They speak about, but God, the way that when he speaks about his father, the shine in his eyes, his actions, you can see here, look at him. This is the first time I'm showing these pictures also.
Wow. It's beautiful.
And next pictures here also, you will see the the same feeling. Yeah, this is the day after when he cleaned everything, and we came back to again. He was sitting a lot and meditating. This was very beautiful to see also. And I knew what's happening. He was somehow preparing himself, God knows, maybe for these days. Have you seen those pictures when Taliban, they take over the tomb and they destroyed this glass, which is all.
It's very sad.
Things?
I have seen that, because his Ahmad Shah Massoud's tomb, I've heard is a shrine for a lot of Afghans. Shrine is a special place.
Of course, people coming from all over.
Yeah,
all over. And the Taliban, which they claim that they are Muslims, they enter here. The first thing they did, they smashed this Quran glass. It's beautiful writing of the Quran verses. So that's why I don't believe at all what the Taliban doing, that they are religious or Muslims. They are a band of criminals, mafia, puppets of the foreign government that pushing them to take over another government, because it's a very sad story. A really sad story to see that people like Taliban, puppets in the hands of a foreign government. They're coming and smashing the Quran verses on these glasses over the tomb of a guy who fight to liberate the same country from the biggest army in the world. Can you imagine? That's why I think that the whole world could get rid of the Taliban as soon as possible. These are criminals, mafia, and puppets in the hand of the foreign country.
And yet they're modern. They understand the media, and they're portraying themselves as different than the first time they took over Afghanistan. I mean,
you see what they're doing now? The question is why the US military, they left them $85 billion of the weapons untouched with the keys on it. $85 billion. The US military, they knew that they're going to leave, all right? We saw the chaos in the airport, what's happened, that they have not even prepared. The chaos, unbelievable. This is the biggest shame for any country. Even if it was the smallest country in the world with a military, it should consider that this is the biggest shame ever. But not only we saw the chaos, what we didn't see, $85 billion of the most sophisticated weaponry, the cars, everything. The key was given to Taliban when the military, the US military, they left it. $85 billion of your tax money, of firearms, everybody's, was given to Taliban to do what?
Well, and just recently you saw where a drone attack against the president of Iraq, and I wonder about that connection, that weaponry and the sophistication is spreading now to the bad guys.
Definitely. I mean, it is spreading because some big government, they want it. You know what I'm meaning? They will never get hands on those weaponry if the US government didn't want it.
Yeah.
They left for them all these weaponries, everything. And the whole world closed their eyes what the Taliban doing with these weaponries. This is, anyway, let's go to the next one, please.
the son is the second from the right and talking with these elders.
Yes, as I said, I was following him for months, and I saw that he had the same connection, relation with the people. He's loved with the people because all the people, many of those, I mean, you see all these white beards, they were friends with Massoud. They were my friends. They were friend Massoud. We all fight. We were all the same trenches. We knew each other's, and he had such a fantastic relation with them. The same that his father, even if the whole his life, he was only 90 days with his father.
Wow.
You have a very good, obviously, a keen sense of observation of human emotions and the dynamics between the leader and similarities to the father.
Yeah, this pictures, you remember one of the first pictures we saw from Massoud? He was standing and laughing and talking to the people around. It's almost the same relation. Yes, you're right.
Same image. I know. Just 30 years later.
Now, this is important. This is in Kabul, the commemoration of the Massoud assassination. There was a big ceremony in Kabul, and you had all the NATO generals. They were lining all of them. They really, literally, they were lining just to touch and shake Ahmad's hands. And I was following him. I was with him, with Ahmad. And I was watching to the eyes of these generals. And I was also seeing how he's reacting with them. I mean, you know, you are a young guys. You are 30, whatever years old. And you have all this, the world, the biggest generals, the militaries, that lining to touch you and to touch. But he was really the guy, Ahmad. He knew how to talk. And this was not that he was playing a role. It was in him. And that's what I like about him, that he is not playing a role like many people we saw when they became minister or president or whatever. They play a role which is not their roles. They do it because they're president. No, Ahmad had really, it seemed that for years and years, he was planning, he was preparing himself to do what he's doing now. And you can see in these pictures that the same way that the pictures previous we saw with the elders, he was very nice and talking, the same way with the oldest foreign generals, ministers, prime ministers, that they were coming in Kabul and wanted to just to sit down with him for a couple of minutes and talk to him. That's why I really trust him. That's why I really believe on him. That's what I think, that the future of Afghanistan, the future of a democrat Afghanistan, the future of the free Afghanistan could be done by him, by Ahmad. That's what I think, that we all should now look to him, protect him, help him to do it. Obviously, the same that I was always telling to Massoud, I was saying that, hey, if you do something wrong, I'm the first guy that will be in front of you. Don't forget about it. And everybody knows about it. So, I mean, this is a symbolic pictures of, as I said, I was with him every year. I was spending a month with him. And this is in the village of his grandfather, the grandfather of Ahmad. And the house which was built later after Massoud on the place which was the family, let's say this is the family house, the big family. After a day that he was spending a lot talking to the people, we came back and he was so tired immediately, he fell asleep. And it was amazing, this pictures. And the wind was blowing from this window, so the curtain was moving. And Art, you know about it. You can tell about these pictures, please.
You know what, when I look at this photo, I just I get this overwhelming feeling that the responsibility of carrying on your father's history is weighing on the way he's reposed and the way his hand is covering his face. You know, to follow in the footsteps of such a great human is a really tough job. And in this photo, it just seems like he understands that his role is to carry on, to persevere.
Definitely. I think that there is, even if he's sleeping, there is a feel of the meditation or connection between him and his father, or whoever, you know, if the people doesn't know who is in the pictures, they don't read the captions. But when they see these pictures, imagine someone that doesn't know what the portrait is it, or what is the picture. I think that they will feel the same, what you said, Art. You have really very good analyze of this.
Thank you.
Well said. Very, very astute. Well said. Oh, beautiful.
This is another portrait of him that now has become an icon. I saw that all this demonstration and everything's going on. There are 4 or 5 of my photograph of Ahmad that is being used everywhere, all the social media and the posters and the printed. And today in many cities I saw people demonstrating, and they all had my pictures of Ahmad going around. It's, I mean, you know, Art, how important it is for the photographer to see that what he has done, it's accepted by the people, not accepted, but it also became a symbol. So
yeah, I mean, it's such a responsibility on your part to provide the photos that will carry the day into the future. You know, it's photographers, you know, a single photo is worth 1,000 words, and all those cliches exist because there's so much truth in it. And we talked about that with Shay earlier in the presentation, that these photos are a record of your history, but it's also your contribution. And I think it's a very, very important role.
It's a beautiful image.
Thank you.
And that was the last one.
That was the last picture. So I finished my presentation and preparation. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Art.
I would suggest to you, PARIMAL, because this could be a 2-part presentation rather than consolidating it. I would say every aspect of it is really important for people to hear and to understand the intricate complexity of this country, Afghanistan. Yeah, consider that.
Yes. I know we are over time, but I would love to ask a couple of questions, you know, because it's so potent right now. Reza, what do you think is the future of Afghanistan with what's going on right now, you know, and also with Ahmad Massoud, you know? There are reports that he's in Tajikistan, you know, trying to create an alliance against the Taliban. But any insights you might have?
Obviously, it's always very difficult to say what's going to happen in the future. But this is what I know. I know that the people in Panjshir, over 2,000 years, they have fought from Alexander the Great till the Al-Qaeda and Taliban recently, and they have won the war. So these are not regular people from streets of the New York or Paris or whatever. These people, they have been there and they know where they are and they know what they're doing. So I trust them. You know, I'm in contact with them. They are living in a very difficult conditions now in the mountains, it snows, and some of them, they don't have food. The same that was during the Russian invasion. They're almost the same. But I trust them. And I know that they have the capacity of creating a real resistance. To do this, they need a leader, and they have the leader. So I'm very much confident of the future by people with Ahmad, obviously Panjshir people, but the most important thing is that I know that there are Pashtuns, that they are joining a resistance. This is very, very important. There are a lot of high-end, high-level people of the Pashtun, which I know. They have already sent the message to Ahmad that, hey, we are with you, and just you are our leader. So Ahmad is becoming the real leader of the resistance. And people doesn't know. Even if the government of the world, like American, Russian, China, Iran, Pakistan, they are against Ahmad, so what? It was the same with his father. You know, all of those government also, they were against his father. He did what he was. So I'm very confident. Another important aspect is that if you think that over this almost 2 months or 3 months that the Taliban is taking power, Afghan women, they were demonstrating every day against Taliban. And this was 20 years ago. It was just unbelievable that Afghan women, they came out on the street and they demonstrate. Like 20 years ago, it was impossible. So having the Afghan women now becoming part of the resistance, which they were also, but they had a different role 20, 30 years ago on resistance. They were undercover, they were helping the, you know, how was it? But now they're also part of it. And this is also something that Massoud always emphasized on it. Massoud always say that women are half of our nation.
Yes.
Of humanity, but about Afghanistan, he mentioned many times. He signed it saying that in the next, the real Afghan government, the women they will have exactly the same role, the same rights than the men, which this goes against Islamic rules, because in Islamic rules, in a lot of the rules, the women are half of the men considered. These are, you know, the thing that a lot of people doesn't know about it. But Massoud, from the very first day, always was saying that in a free Afghanistan, the woman will be equal to the man. Exactly.
Even then,
Yes, in the 80s, in those years, always. And now we see that what's happening. Even in the first Taliban government, when they take over and they said that no woman can work on it or whatever, a lot of women, they flee Kabul and they went to refuge to Panjshir. They were doctors, you know, university teachers and everything. And Massoud, I said the Massoud rules, Massoud word to everybody was all the women that flee the Taliban and they enter this under the place which we have, they are priority to get the job, at their own job. So I was meeting, and even if in the films Into the Forbidden Zone, you will see like a nurse, a doctor saying that she had to flee Kabul because the Taliban, they wanted to kill her. They didn't want her to work as a doctor. But then she said, well, you know, when I came to Panjshir, I was so astonished. They treat me like a king and the queen, and They asked me what job I want. I said, my job as a doctor and nurse. And they brought me to this hospital, and now I'm head of the nurses. And then I learned that this was thanks to Massoud.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
Yeah. Let me ask one last question. And it might be, think about this. This is a hypothetical question, but I asked this question to you, Reza, because you're the only person in the world who can answer this question. And the question is, if Ahmad Shah Massoud were to be alive today, what advice would he give his son, Ahmad Massoud? And what advice would he give to the whole world who has somehow turned a blind eye to this situation?
Well, I mean, if he was alive, the whole world will be a different world. Believe me. If he was alive, there will be no 9/11, and there will be no what's happened after. We will not have all this bloodshed that's happened after the 9/11 all around the world. We will not have all this scam of the security all around the world, everywhere we live, and all this, you know, the whole world will be different. Believe me. We will not have Iraq war. We will not have 20 years US militaries in Afghanistan. He will never let a single US soldiers put his foot, or US or NATO, European, on Afghanistan. But he will solve, because when in 2000 that he was surrounded by Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and Pakistan government, you know, it makes a huge, strong group. He had like 15% of Afghanistan. When he came to Paris, and in his talk to the hundreds of the media and also the European Parliament, he said, one of the questions of the parliamentary was, Mr. Massoud, what do you want us military? What kind of the military help you need, and whatever, to fight Taliban, Al-Qaeda? He looks to him and said, thank you very much for your offer. We don't need any military help, because to fight Taliban, Al-Qaeda, we fought the Russian military, which was the biggest army in the world. So to fight them, I don't need a military. I'm asking one thing, only one thing. You close the border with Pakistan. Don't allow the Pakistan government send them to fight us. And we Afghan, we will take care of everything's happening there.
Yeah.
This was April 2001 when he said, don't let Pakistan government to fool us, to fool you, and to send all these terrorists and the groups inside Afghanistan. We will take care of them. So that's why if Massoud was alive, believe me, the whole world will be different, will be much better, the world that we have now. Unfortunately, we are not.
Art, any final comments? I have a final comment, not a question, but before that, Art, anything you just want to share about today's?
Yeah, I think you have, I mean, we've had a lot of really great photographers on this program, and very important photographers, but I think you've elevated the entire Earth is Our Witness, and I'm very appreciative to hear your stories, and I would love to trade a book. I'd love to have your name on a book in my library, and believe me, my library is my pride and joy. So I would love to have you.
My book's there. So this you will get. This is it's called War Plus Peace, actually, my book.
I would love to have that.
So let me close out by just sharing two thoughts, with everyone. In my own kind of research and love for Reza's work, some potent thoughts. And I'm going to end this with, a Persian poet once said, all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a small candle. 20 years back, that candle was Ahmad Shah Massoud. Today, that candle is by his successor and son, Ahmad Massoud.
Definitely.
And with that, that candle is not just important for Afghanistan, the Afghan resistance against the Taliban. And this is a quote from you, Reza, that I took, that I want to read out to our audience. The Afghan resistance against the Taliban is relevant not just to the Afghans, but to everyone in the free world. The Afghan resistance symbolizes the fight of humanity against barbarism, dogmas, criminal behaviors, and abuse of women and children. So we must all do our part to keep the light of the candle running. Thank you very much, Reza. Thank you all our audience.
Thank you for organizing this. I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I hope that people also that they were watching us, they enjoyed it.
They
and
will.
if anybody wants questions or whatever through you, through my Instagram or Facebook or whatever, I'm ready for it. Thank you.
Good.
I'll look, Reza, I will look forward to the day we meet directly.
I hope that we will do.
We will.
Definitely do it.